what I wanted to say about Teresa of Avila was that Teresa says that when the spiritual journey starts, you are going to feel this constant compelling to pursue your inner self. It's not going to stop. And it's going to be an anguish for you. You're going to want to run away, but then you can't. Run away, and then you can't. So then you're going to decide that you can do it on your own terms. And that's when she says you're going to decide that your inner well can be done on your terms. And she calls that the place at which you will dig your own spiritual well. And you'll decide, I can be nurtured from my inner life as I want to be nurtured in a non-threatening way. So I get just enough of God as I want it on my terms. And she says, you know, you'll dig a well and you'll get that spiritual resource. And she said it will genuinely be from God. It'll genuinely be sacred. But every well you dig will eventually dry up. Because it hasn't been given to you in abundance as a blessing. And of course, you've decided you cannot do you on your terms. But once it's open, it never stops flowing. So, when I was doing readings at this level, people were always asking, as you will, for logical and rational reasons why things happen as they do in your life. How many of you are still addicted to logical reasons for why things happen as they do in your life? This is an important question. How many of you seek reasonable reasons, logical, fair, and just? You want your world to operate around that, and this is an important question. This is critical because it can cost you cancer. So pay attention to this question. What's the source of cancer? It's not what someone has done to you. It's never that. It's your anger at disorder. It's your anger at the laws. It's what Buddha would say, the argument with the laws. The need to have things other than the way they are. I need a reasonable explanation. Go to the book of Job. It's my favorite book in the whole universe. Favorite book. There's nothing more brilliant. Where were you when I laid the foundations to this universe? I kind of ad-lib Job, but essentially, where were you when I laid the foundations? Where were you when I hung the moon and the stars, when I decided where the oceans would stop? And I don't remember asking you for a consultation of how do you think I should hang the planets? And you think I owe you an explanation for anything? Last time Yahweh spoke to human beings. Close the door, I have nothing else to say. Where were you? Where were you? This will be, to me, the eternal suffering. The need to know how our life, our individual life, I want you to stand under the stars and imagine you asking, the nerve to ask God, would you please explain why things are I'm not happy. Go find yourself, go up to one of these cliffs at night. Look at this entire desert, this incredible celestial how dare they? All right, this incredible celestial blanket that we're under. Position yourself. Then imagine you can see Andromeda, the Sombrero galaxy, Andromeda, all of the galaxies. And you, standing there, screaming, Yahweh, come here. I want an explanation for why I'm not happy. Yo, where are you? I can't even say it, it's so ridiculous. I want you to think of that. You got to let me know if he answers. I wouldn't have the nerve. Oh, Jesus? Anybody out there? I mean, really, really. It doesn't, this is what you do when you hang on to that perspective, to that myth, that somehow we are owed something by this. We are owed nothing. But one of the great teachings of Teresa. Somehow we have to fit into all this that was operating long before you got here and will remain operating long before you are gone. This system does not need us. We are not critical to this system at all. There's no part of this system that says, please help me out. The rocks are not begging for help. The nature's not begging. No part of it is begging us. Position yourself accordingly. Humble up is your prayer. Help me to humble up here. And when you realize, I will do everything I can. I'll do everything I'm capable, but I'm done complaining that I'm not significant. I'm done with that. I'm done with that. Okay. Now, as soon as you lift the word significant and realize your purpose in life is not to be special, and don't tell your children that piece of fiction. Your purpose in life is to learn and manage your nature accordingly, and to listen for instructions, and to not make choices that violate your nature. It is violating to make a certain choice. This will violate my nature if I say yes when I mean no, if I say no when I mean yes. If I say an unkind thing, it violates my nature. It violates. And if it violates my nature, it violates nature. My nature to nature. My nature to nature. One and the same. This is the key to your health. This is the key to your soul. If it violates my nature, it violates all nature. What is in one is in the whole. Are you with me here? Okay. And that you cease to look for an ever logical, if you put your path here on the first floor, which is, I need justice, I need fairness, I need this around my life. I want you to think of yourself on the first floor. And what that is like saying, the rules of life are built around me. Everything. Everybody's life, everything is here to serve me. I have to win every game. I have to win every conversation. I have to leave every party feeling the best, feeling the most, having the most beautiful dress on. It's all about me. The higher rule, as you'll see, is I have to leave everything as balanced as I came. It's not about winning, it's about balance. So your new word is balance. Balance is your key word, this. This is your key. But if I introduce that to your first floor will not get it. Your first floor will not get it. Oh good. Now I want to introduce one other idea down here, because I do see this as a factor of health and suffering. And this is something I got in the early days of my career as in energy anatomy. Buddhism would say that the first floor, unlike Christianity that has a definition of hell as a place, which is down there somewhere, Buddhism says has a place called first world. And the first world is what they call first world hell. And that hell is when you feel, see, consider, define that you are completely powerless, without power. And it's worth going into this because this is about power. And this is about you examining all the way down to your last molecule how you see power. And on your first floor, power is so often about what we have, about where we live, about how people treat us, about whether or not they recognize us. On the first floor, it's not as Dostoevsky would say, you can put me in the gulag, but you'll never put my soul in the gulag. So put my body in the gulag, but you'll never put my soul there. It is incredibly, what could be more the greatest challenge that any human being faces? Our greatest challenge is managing the power of our soul. This is what is meant in the scripture, in the New Testament, where Jesus in the desert for 40 days, and the devil comes up to him and says, hey, I'll give you everything if you'll give me your soul, because you've really got it under control. And the whole purpose of that story where it says Jesus fasted, so he was vulnerable, he was starving, he needed everything from the earth, he needed everything from down here, he needed food, he needed water, he needed all of that. So the point of that story is he was as vulnerable as a human being could be. And that was when you are ripe for temptation, to be bought. And the lesson here is that moment will come to us far more than once in our lifetimes, when everything that is most valuable about us, our power, is so easily bought, like this. I'll help you out. Oh, please. Oh, please. And the next thing you know, you've abdicated your power of choice to the first person who came along. To the first person who came along. Oh, thank God, someone's carrying me. Oh, thank God. And in return, what? In return, I want. Within 3 seconds, take whatever you need. Take my power. How much of my power do you want? That is what that story is about. Instead of being able to say, I have to go through this. A lot is being taken from me. Nothing is going to be harder. Instead of saying, I got to get out of here for a second. I have to go up to the panel. What story is, what test is this? Where am I? Because this will happen to everybody. The last thing I got to do is think this is only happening to me. This is, okay, what do I have to do here? I need a map. I need it fast and I need it. I will be approached by somebody who will say, I'll get you out of this if you give me your soul. What time is that person coming? The smart person. Or I will go, somebody's going to come and say, if you give me your spirit, I'll get you out of this. It may be in the form of money, it may be in the form of this, it may be in the form of that. I'm going to tell you what happened. You know, a lot of these people are calling older people and scamming them. And one of these people called my mother. My mother calls me and says, and I happened to be on a phone call with my spiritual director. And everyone knows that's a sacred time for me. And I've been with him for 18 years, and that's my sacred time, and it's every week. And that's sacred time. So my mother called. And I said, and I so took the call, and I said, "Are you all right?" And she had a funny sound in her voice. She said, "Well, Kara," I said, do you need me right now? Right now. And I'm just so used to that sanctuary. I said, "Is it an emergency?" And she said, "Well, no." And I said, "I'll call you in just a few minutes." So I called, and she wasn't there. Now, my mom is 90. All right. So then she calls me back in about a half hour, 20 minutes, something like that, to tell me that she had received a phone call from my nephew, who had, from a lawyer first, who said that my nephew had been in an accident, had hurt his face, so he's going to sound funny. That he's going to call, but only has a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes to talk. And the lawyer says, now, he's in jail and needs $5,000 bail money that has to come in the form of these gift cards from Target. Okay, and not to tell anybody at all, not anybody, nobody. So then this nephew calls my mother, this person, who would be her grandson, and says, "Grandma," and my mom has hearing loss now. And more than likely, she didn't have her hearing aids in. So she said, "Joe, yes, Grandma," so the combination of that and, so she calls me up and I said, "What?" And she said, "You can't call. You can't call. The lawyer said you can't call." And at first you're very discombobulated. And I thought, if my nephew were in that kind of trouble, he wouldn't be calling her, he'd be calling me. And number two, he wouldn't be in jail at all. Number three, his wife would be after him, or his sisters, and like the whole thing. So I called David, and I said, "This is a scam." And I thought, yeah, you have to have your sense knocked in, right? So I called her. She had gone to Target. Yeah, she had gone to Target. Mm-hmm. And someone at Target said, what do you need all these cards for? What do you need all these gift cards for? They're on to this. But they couldn't exactly say, "No, we're not selling you them." But they've been guided on how to at least talk to these older people. My mom said, I just need them. Well, she didn't have enough money on her credit line, on her Target card, didn't go up that. So she comes home forlorn. And she calls me up and she said, I called the lawyer back, that guy's lawyer, and he said, "Well, you go to the bank and get a line of credit then." And I said, "Mom, this is a sham. Don't do this." And she said, "I don't know, but I called." And she now, okay? This is spell casting. And all of us think we're not susceptible. All of us think we're not susceptible. That some alert can go out, a missile coming in, Hawaii. All of us think we're not susceptible to standing out and saying, whoa, wait a minute, before that thought form gets in here. I can't let that thought form. Someone saying something to you like, "I would never wear that vest. It looks absolutely awful," or "I want that vest." Whatever someone says to you, it's an incoming thought form. And you being able to hold your center and stop something and say, that's it, I can't engage in this. I can't. What is the difference with you being able to discern? I can't let that kind of vibration in my field. What is the difference between saying that's bad, that throws me off balance. I don't allow. What is the difference between you saying, I don't eat sugar, I'm a diabetic, and come up here. I don't allow those thoughts in me now. I regulate my vibrational diet now. I've advanced. Not only do I balance my physical diet, I now balance my vibrational diet. It's not enough, people, to just do your physical if you don't do your vibrational. This is stronger. Okay, so anyway, the long and the short of it is, I was terrified my mom was going to call and give him. So I got to her condo, and I see the name of that lawyer, and I call him. And I said, well, because he knew my mom's name, and he knew the name of my nephew. And I said, if you've done you could, so I said, your name isn't Mark, it's Martin. Who is this? And of course, he was a little more colorful in his language. I said, who's this? And I said, if you had done your homework, you'd realize that you were calling a woman whose daughter was the premier psychic in the world. I said, you foolish man. Who is this? And I said, no. I said, it's my turn. And the stupid man did not hang up. And I said, I have enlisted the assistance of all my colleagues, all my psychic colleagues, and we found you. And I said, you listen to me. I own you now. Right. I said, you listen to me. I said, we are coming for you. I said, and it won't be pretty. I said, we are stealth bombers, and we come at night. I said, we are coming into your thoughts. We're coming into your energy field. We own you. And I said, look at your place. It's filthy. What the hell? Where are you? I said, you know you have a criminal record and you're going to have another one. I said, I've just begun to torment you. And I said, and you listen to me. If you ever attempt to drive your car again, you will have an accident and you will lose a limb one by one. I said, if you ever try to harm an elderly person again, you will lose one limb at a time. I said, your only option now is to stop it. I said, we are watching you. If you ever harm another person, I said, we will get you limb by limb. That accident will happen one day. I said, you are never off the hook. Do you understand? So I hung up the phone. So he calls back and he said, I said, I said, you listen to me. Did you call back by yourself or did I make you call? I said, I own you forever. I said, don't you dare harm another. Your soul is mine. Now, if I were him, would you call another old person? Ever? Okay. No. Some days you have to beat the crap out of people to make them go back to the good. It's too good. Reminds me of Stevie Pajoli. I gotta tell you, turning honest is how did he say it? Turning honest is bad for business. Yeah. Okay. All right, now, are you connecting dots on your own power base here? Okay. With me, after a while I realized that power was more internal than external. That what determined how we saw our external world had to do with the next level, which was our inner world. That our psychological, emotional, that our issues of beliefs determined how we saw our physical power. That what we believed, what we associated, was how we then went about organizing our physical life. So that's when I started to really chart, what is it you feel? What are your feelings? How deep, how complex the emotional nature? That's when that next level of us became very important, the wounds, the level of wounds. And I realized that when we start our inner journey, everybody starts at the wounded level. It's like square one. It's square one. Why do we start there? I suspect we started our wounds because if we started in our strength, it's like starting from the top of our tree and no one begins there. And if it just doesn't, we have to scaffold that part of ourself. I also think we start out like, here's my last drawing. Thank God, I'm just so complicated here. Okay. When we're tribal, our tribe manages our heart. This is who you'll love, this is who you don't love, da-da-da-da. So when I started to do readings, and when I look at your wounds, they're multi-layered. There's the way your tribe sees it in you. Then there's the next level of how you structure a wound. And then there's the next. So if you think you're simple, you better think again. This is the reason I don't do readings anymore. When it started out years ago, I simply read at the first floor, and it was so easy. I could sit with someone for an hour, hour and a half, and say, look, you had tribal issues and your sexuality, your self-esteem, and I'd go through it, and it was, in the 1980s, early 90s, it went through the chakra system, and the chakra system was something that But the more I realized our complexity, the more I realized nothing about us is that simple. Nothing about us is that logical or organized. Our relationship with power is the fundamental ingredient in the human experience. So, in our first years, our tribe manages our power. And it says we will, it holds us together. Because power is so huge, and it says, we love this person. We don't love that person. It's a we form of love before you can even manage an I form. Which is why so often first marriages, you fell in love through your we before you got to your I. Because your I is a different version of you. And your I is more like, this is eau de toilette, cologne, and perfume. It's the same you, but each is a different strength of you. And in the we form, in the tribal form, you tend to do very much what the tribe does. And breaking away and forming your I is a form of a birth canal. Yes? Okay, so when I started to do readings here, this is where I took a close look at the power of our attitudes, the power of our belief systems, the power of the positive, the power of the negative, and this is also what I noticed. Everybody was learning about the power of positive attitudes. Agreed? But nobody applied them to anything other than their illness and their health. People were not taking that information and taking it out and applying it to the creation of better friendships at work. Nobody. Nobody was taking their attitudes and saying, how come we're not getting along at work? How come this isn't better in the social field? How come, where's my attitudes in terms of building better community? Nobody was taking these laws and these rules and applying them to the larger arena of life. Absolutely no one. Nobody was taking these laws that they were learning to be the absolute truth about their bio-psychic nature and saying, we better if this is truth in my body, how can it not be also true in our political system? How can it not be true in our sociological system? How can it not be true in the mainstream and how we're creating things in the school system? If this is true, why aren't we teaching our kids about this? If this is true, why aren't we applying it in all forms of every place we look? How come we take what's true and only put it right here in this little container of our attitude in happy land in therapy, but we never apply it anywhere else? Ever. Because we don't buy it. We don't take anything about this seriously, not in the mainstream. The size of the crisis we've created in our society because of this is overwhelming. The massive depression, opioid addiction, everything is because we do not take our psychobiology, mystical theology nature seriously. So we have no idea what truly overwhelms us and what our psychic biology, psychic field actually needs. Because we don't go there. We have no idea about our own sensitivities, about our own psychic field, about our own nature, because we don't go there. We only use attitudes in positive therapy. And when we say the kids are angry, anger management, where we can handle it. But in every other place, we don't go there. While simultaneously, as we learn more and more and more about our inner nature, up goes drug addiction. Up goes addiction. As we shut down our inner nature on one, we're opening it up on another. Because we don't want to go there. So let's be really clear about what's happening. It is not a coincidence. It's a tragic synchronicity. A dark, dark synchronicity. Okay, so I'm okay. It was once I pursued why people don't heal, which I look at and continue to look at. I did begin to wonder, well then, what is our struggle with healing? And at this, I realized that it's impossible for us to heal on the first, second, and third floors. Impossible. We can feel better, but we can never heal.